My name is Lily Carter. The night my mom congratulated me for moving out, I was sitting on the floor of my half-empty apartment, eating cold lo mein out of a carton, thinking maybe my life was finally starting. I'd just dragged the last box into my tiny bedroom. My back was killing me. My hands were covered in dust, but I felt weirdly proud. It wasn't much. Just a small place in Columbus I was sharing with my coworker Mia. But it was mine. No curfew. No, did you lock the door? Text at 11 p.m. No passive-aggressive sighs if I didn't jump up fast enough to do the dishes. Mia went to buzz in the delivery guy, and I finally checked my phone. There it was at the top of my notifications. I nursed single mom Carol mentioned you in a post. I smiled without thinking. For a second, I pictured a cute selfie of us in front of the house, something like, proud of my girl, off to start her life. My mom loved posting everything. Maybe this time it would actually be nice. I tapped it open. The caption hit like a slap. Big congrats to my daughter for finally moving out at 26. You should have left earlier. Haha. Now I can have my peace and redecorate your room. Pray for me after all those years of drama. Empty. Nest freedom. There was a photo of my empty old bedroom attached. Posters ripped down. Bare mattress. The dent in the carpet where my dresser had been. It looked like I'd never existed there. And the comments. You're a saint, Carol. Took her long enough, lol. You deserve your freedom, girl. After all the stories you've told us, this day is a miracle. I scrolled, my cheeks burning. People from our little Ohio town, women from church, one of my old teachers, all joking about how hard it must have been to put up with me. Mia came back in with the food and stopped when she saw my face. What happened? I just turned my phone toward her. She read it, eyes widening. Wow, she said slowly. That's harsh. She hugged me at the door, I whispered. She cried. She told me she was proud of me. Then she posted this. Tears started before I could stop them. I felt stupid for crying, like I was proving her point about being dramatic, but it was like my throat had closed up. Mia sat down next to me on the floor. Lily, you know this isn't normal, right? The way she talks about you online? I half laughed through the tears. She's always told stories, since I was a kid. People love her for it. Yeah, Mia said quietly, because they're not the ones being turned into content. That word, content, stuck in my head. Growing up, my mom, Carol, was basically a local hero. Single nurse mom, always smiling, always so strong. Everybody at church adored her. People would pull me aside and say, You're so lucky. Your mom works so hard for you. And she did work hard. She pulled night shifts at the clinic. She packed my lunches. She made sure I had school supplies. I never went hungry. But there was always this show. When I was 13 and didn't make the cheer team, I cried in my room for a bit. I was embarrassed. The next night at church, she told the whole small group. Lily sobbed for an hour. She's always been my little drama queen. And everyone laughed while I sat there, wanting to disappear. When I got my period for the first time, she turned it into a funny story for her coworkers. When I had a crush, she'd act it out for her friends at the salon. Every private thing that happened to me became material. Then social media came along and handed her an audience. Her accounts were full of single mom humor. Stuff like, when your adult child expects you to be their maid, girl, no, raising my roommate. Or, some days I can't tell if I'm raising a daughter or a permanent patient. That last one she posted the day I had my first panic attack in community college. I'd called her from a bathroom floor, shaking, sure I was dying. She picked me up, yes. She held my hand, yes. Then she went home and posted about my grown daughter sobbing because life is too much. I saw it by accident a few days later and stared at my phone, face hot, but I told myself, she's just venting. She's under a lot of stress. I kept giving her that grace long after she stopped giving it to me, so when she posted, you should have left earlier, haha, something in me cracked. I just handed her $600 in last month's rent the week before. I'd lived in that house my entire life, worked since I was 20, done most of the chores, and she'd still framed me as this burden she'd finally been freed from. I didn't answer her. I didn't comment. I just shoved my phone aside and went out on the small balcony to breathe. The parking lot view wasn't much, but the air felt different out there. Mine. Away from her walls, her rules, her narratives. That night, another piece of truth dropped on me. Mia and I were splitting bills at the little kitchen table. She pulled up the rent receipt on her phone. Can you send me your half by Friday? She asked. It's 425. I blinked. Wait, your half is 425? Yeah, she said. Why? I was paying my mom $600 for that one room at her house, I said slowly. She always said she was giving me a deal because she could charge more if she wanted. Mia frowned. Rent in your town is cheaper than here. She was definitely not giving you a deal. Later that night, I looked up room rentals around my mom's neighborhood. Every listing I saw was lower than what I'd been paying. Not by a little, by a lot. All the guilt I'd carried, feeling like I didn't contribute enough, like I was a financial drain, suddenly looked different. She hadn't just been helping me. She'd been quietly making money off me while telling people I was freeloading. I opened the Notes app on my phone and started a list. At the top, I wrote, "What Mom did." Under it, charged me above market rent, turned my private life into jokes, made people think I was lazy, ungrateful. It felt ridiculous and petty to write it out, but seeing it in black and white made it harder to gaslight myself. The next twist came from a boring adult thing I'd never bothered with: my credit report. One night, Mia was talking about trying to get a car loan, and she mentioned, "When I first moved out, my ex had wrecked my credit. He took out a phone contract in my name. Took forever to fix." Wow, I said. That's awful. Yeah, she said. Have you ever checked your credit? I shook my head. I have my student card and my car loan. I pay on time, so I guess I just assumed it was fine. You should still check, she said, just to make sure there's nothing weird. The next day on my lunch break, I went on the official site and pulled my report. It took a few minutes to answer all the security questions. When it finally loaded, my stomach dropped. There were accounts listed I didn't recognize, 3 of them, all store cards. One was a big furniture chain, one was a department store we'd never shopped at, one was a home improvement store, the one my mom loved, the one with all the orange signs. Each account had my name, my social, my mom's address. The balances weren't small. One was over $4,000, another around $1,500. There were late payments, high utilization, all the stuff you're warned about. My hands actually shook. I called the home improvement store's customer service, my voice trembling. "Hi, I think there might be an error. Could you tell me when and where the last in-store purchase was, please?" The rep pulled it up. "Looks like the account was opened 4 years ago. Last major purchases were 2.5 years ago at our town location. It shows bathroom fixtures, tiling, installation." Bathroom fixtures, 2.5 years ago. That was when my mom had redone the bathroom. She'd posted pictures. Finally treating myself after years of sacrifice. Paid with my own money. Blessed. I thanked the rep and hung up, feeling cold. I checked the furniture card. The last big purchase was a washer and dryer set. 3 years ago. Same town. Mom had bragged about finally upgrading. God is good, she'd written. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. I knew I hadn't opened those accounts. There was only one person who had my information, my social, who handled all the mail back then. My mom. At home that night, I paced the narrow living room while Mia watched me from the couch. "This has to be some kind of mistake," I said. "Maybe the credit bureau messed up, or maybe they mixed me up with someone." "With your full name, social, and your mom's address?" Mia said gently. "Lily." She opened them. The word that hovered between us was ugly. Fraud. Identity theft. I pulled out my phone, opened my note, and added, "Opened credit accounts in my name. Used them for her remodel and appliances. Never told me once it was getting harder and harder to tell myself that's just how moms are." The next twist came from a person I had written off years ago. My dad. My whole life the story was simple. Dad left when I was 10. Never called, never wrote, never paid a cent. My mom loved telling people, we didn't need him. I did it all by myself. As a kid, I didn't question it. The one time I'd asked too many questions, she'd blown up, cried loudly enough that the neighbors could probably hear, and said, "You have no idea what he did to us." But there was this one memory buried in my brain. I was about 14. We were arguing because I wanted to go on a school trip that cost a couple $100. She'd snapped, "Ask your father for it if you think money grows on trees." Then she'd gone quiet, like she'd given something away. That sentence came back now, replaying over and over in my head. One evening, with my hands still shaking from looking at my credit, I searched his name on Facebook. Mark Carter. It's a common name, but I filtered by location, remembering he worked near Cleveland. After a while, I saw him. A little older, some gray in his hair. standing in front of an auto shop with his arm around a woman and a teenage boy. His profile said, mechanic, husband, dad of two. My heart pounded in my ears. Two. His profile wasn't fully locked, so I scrolled his photos. Fishing trips, barbecues, Christmas mornings, the boy at different ages, and then, way back, a photo of a little girl on his shoulders at a park, grinning so wide you could see the gap where she'd lost a tooth. Me. The caption said, throwback. She'll always be my first baby. Miss you, kiddo. Posted 3 years ago. I stared at that line until the words blurred. He missed me? 3 years ago, I'd been in my mom's kitchen listening to her say, he probably doesn't even remember your birthday. I clicked his friends list. We had one mutual friend, an older woman from our old church. My fingers shook as I typed, hi, this is Lily, Carol's daughter. Do you still know my dad, Mark? She replied 20 minutes later. Oh my gosh, Lily. Yes, I see him sometimes. He always asks how you're doing. Always asks about you. I let her give him my number. That night, my phone was a live wire next to my bed. Every buzz made me jump. 2 days later, while I was stapling forms at work, a text came in from an unknown number. Hi, Lily. This is Mark, your dad. If this is unwanted, I'll disappear. I just want you to know I've never stopped thinking about you. If you ever want to talk, I'd be honored. I read it 7 times. Then I went to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and typed, I want to talk. We met at a coffee shop in a town halfway between us that Saturday. Mia came and sat at another table with headphones in, just in case. He walked in, scanned the room, and our eyes met. It was like looking at a future version of myself. Same brown eyes, same nose, same slightly hunched posture. Lily, he said, voice thick. Hi. Hi, I managed. We sat. For a minute, we just stared at our cups. Your mom probably told you some things about me, he said cautiously. Ask me anything. I'll tell you the truth, even if it doesn't make me look good. Why did you leave? I asked, because that question had been sitting in my chest for 16 years. He exhaled. Your mom and I were toxic together, constant fights, about money, work, your grandparents, everything. It got bad. I left the house because I didn't want you growing up in that. But I never meant to leave you. He looked me straight in the eyes. I went to court. I paid child support. Every month until you turned 18. I asked for visitation, holidays. She told the judge you were too upset to see me. She told me you didn't want to talk to me. I thought you hated me. She told me you disappeared, I said, that you never sent money, that you never called. He shook his head, bitter smile. I have a box of birthday cards returned to me. Returned to sender. I'd drive by your school sometimes like a creep, just to see you from far away. I remarried, had your brother, but I never forgot you. We sat there, the weight of 16 years of lies between us. Did you send money for my surgery? I asked suddenly, remembering my appendectomy when I was 17. Mom had told everyone she was drowning in bills from it. Yes, he said quietly. She called me, said you were in the hospital. I wired money the same day. I thought it was going to help you. I thought you knew. I swallowed hard. She said we almost lost the house because of my hospital bills. His jaw clenched. We almost lost the house years before that because she opened a credit card in my name and maxed it out. I found out when a collector called. After that, I kept my accounts separate. I told him about the cards in my name. The bathroom, the washer and dryer, the rent, the posts. He shook his head slowly. I'm so sorry, kiddo. She hasn't changed. By the time I got back to Mia's car, I was shaking so hard I could barely close the door. I broke down, ugly crying into my hands while she rubbed my back. My mom hadn't just exaggerated. She had rewritten my life. She turned my father into a villain, turned herself into a saint, and used my name to buy things she bragged about paying for. That night, I sat at my desk with a trash bag as a makeshift curtain and opened my notes app. The list was long now. It didn't feel petty anymore. It felt like a case file. That was when I decided this wasn't just mom being mom. This was going to have consequences. The next week, I made an appointment with a lawyer. I found a small firm downtown that handled consumer issues and family stuff. The lawyer, Rachel, was calm, with kind eyes and no nonsense in her voice. I sat in her office and poured everything out. The fake credit accounts, the child support receipts my dad had sent me, the returned letters, the social media posts. She listened just like my therapist would later. No judgment, just focus. Legally, she said when I finished, what your mother did with those credit accounts is identity theft. You did not authorize those applications. We can dispute them. The banks will investigate. Often they'll remove the accounts from your report if the evidence backs you up. My stomach twisted. Could she go to jail? It's possible, she said honestly. But for these amounts, it's more likely they'd go after the money, not prison time. Still, there could be serious consequences for her. You need to be sure you're ready to start this process. I thought about my mom's Mother of the Year posts, those laughing comments about putting up with me, the years of me paying inflated rent while she played martyr. I'm ready to fix my life, I said. I don't know if I'm ready for her to go to jail, but I'm ready to not take the hit for what she did. Rachel nodded. Then we start with disputes. We'll file with the credit bureaus and the store cards. We'll also send your mother a formal letter making it clear you're aware of the accounts and that she is to cease using your information. She paused. You also mentioned she posts about your mental health, mocks you by name. We can send a separate letter demanding she remove those posts and stop using your name and image without permission. It might not go to court, but it establishes a boundary. We drafted the letters together. I signed my name at the bottom of each one, feeling like I was stepping over an invisible line I could never uncross. When those envelopes went into the mail, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt nauseous. But under that, there was something else. Relief. My mom received them 3 days later. I know because my phone pretty much exploded. First, 5 calls in a row. All went to voicemail. Then the texts. Lily, what is this? You're accusing me of fraud. After everything I've sacrificed, you sick lawyers on me? Answer your phone right now. I put my phone on silent and left it in my bag. My hands were shaking, but I kept filing claims at work, answering customers, acting like my entire family wasn't on fire. An hour later, she tried a different strategy. Sweetheart, we don't need to involve strangers. Call me. We'll fix this. You know I'd never hurt you on purpose. I stared at that line, on purpose, and actually laughed. A short, bitter sound. I didn't respond. A few days later, my friend from church sent me a message. Your mom asked us all to pray for her. She says you're accusing her of crimes and want to ruin her reputation. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here if you want to talk. I thanked her and didn't explain. Not yet, because right around then, my mom posted something that changed everything. Honored to be nominated for Community Mother of the Year, she wrote, adding a selfie of herself in scrubs, smiling. Single moms, this is for us. We sacrifice so much for our kids. Blessed. The local community center had picked her as one of their nominees. They put her picture on their Facebook page, talking about her tireless dedication and the way she put her child first. I stared at that screen for a long time. Mother of the Year. For a woman who lied about child support, hid my father, mocked my breakdowns, and used my name for debt. Something inside me went very still. You want an audience? I thought. Fine, you'll get the whole story. I didn't rush. I spent the next couple of weeks gathering everything. My dad emailed me scanned copies of his payment history. He mailed some of the cards that had been returned, my name on the envelope with "Return to Sender" stamped over it. I pulled my full credit report again and highlighted the fraudulent accounts. I called the stores and asked for purchase histories. The bathroom remodel date matched her treat yourself post exactly. The washer and dryer purchase lined up too. I took screenshots of her worst posts about me. I blurred out the names of people who'd commented because this wasn't about them. It was about her and me. Then I wrote. I wrote like I'm talking to you now. I started with that move out post, a screenshot, her caption, her emojis. Under it, I typed, "This is what my mom posted the day I moved out. In person, she hugged me and said she was proud. Online, she told everyone she'd put up with me for 26 years. I'm Lily, and I want to tell my side. Not because I hate her, but because for 26 years, she's told my story without asking me. I broke it into a thread so people would actually read it. Post 1, the move out post. Post 2, explain how she'd been posting about me for years. Post 3, examples of her turning my anxiety and mistakes into jokes. Then I added the money, a screenshot of my Venmo history showing months of $600 payments labeled Rent to Mom, next to current listings of room rentals in our town for much less. This is what I paid my mom to live in my childhood bedroom versus what rooms actually go for in our area, I wrote. She often told others I was freeloading. Next post, my credit report with the fraudulent accounts circled, numbers hidden. These are store cards opened in my name without my knowledge. They were used for my mom's bathroom remodel and washer-dryer. I confirmed the purchase dates and locations with the stores. I never saw these cards. I've been paying in the form of a ruined credit score. Then, my dad. I posted the picture of little me on his shoulders with his caption, "Miss you, kiddo." I added, I grew up believing my father abandoned us, never paid a cent, never wrote. Recently, I found him. He showed me 16 years of child support receipts and letters that were all returned or never given to me. Here are a few of the envelopes. I included photos of the envelopes with my childhood address and return to sender stamped over my name. I'm not saying my mom never did anything good, I wrote near the end. She worked hard, she kept a roof over my head, but she also opened credit in my name, lied to me about my father, and built a social media persona where I am the unstable, ungrateful, dramatic child she puts up with. I closed with, she's being nominated as Community Mother of the Year right now. Maybe in some ways she earned that, but if you've only heard her version of our life, I wanted you to see mine. The night of the ceremony, she was at the community center, in a nice dress, probably soaking in the attention. I was sitting on my couch in leggings, phone in hand, heart pounding. At 7:05 p.m., I hit post on the thread on X. Then I pasted the whole thing to Facebook. I tagged her in both. For a moment, I thought maybe no one would care. Then the notifications started. A like. A repost. A wow. A this is so brave. Comments from people I knew. People I'd never met. I always wondered why she talked about you like that. Thank you for sharing this. I'm so sorry this happened to you. My mom does this too. I feel seen. At the community center, according to one of my mom's friends who later messaged me, people's phones started buzzing in the audience. A few women in the back row were hunched over their screens while someone on stage talked about sacrificial love. By the time my mom went up to accept her nomination certificate, several people already knew. She didn't call me that night. She did, however, try to spin it. A few days later, I got a long text from a church lady. Your mom is heartbroken. She says you've exaggerated and shared private family matters. Maybe take it down and work it out quietly? I wrote back, I understand you care about her, but I shared facts with proof. I've been quiet my whole life. This is me finally speaking up. A week after the thread, the knock came. 3 sharp bangs on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw her. No smile, no makeup, just tight anger. I opened the door with the chain still on. Hi, Mom. What have you done? She demanded. Told the truth, I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. You've humiliated me, she snapped. People at church are whispering. The clinic got an anonymous email with your little story. You're trying to destroy my life. I didn't send anything to your job, I said calmly. I just put my experience on my own pages. Everything I posted, I backed up. You left out context, she said. You made it sound like I'm some criminal. Those cards, that bathroom, that washer and dryer, they were for the house, for us. You use that bathroom every day. That's not the point, I said. The point is, you used my name and social without asking. You ruined my credit. You lied to me about Dad. You turned my panic attacks into jokes, and when I moved out, you mocked me publicly. She scoffed. You're always so dramatic. You've always done this, blown everything out of proportion. I worked myself to the bone to give you a life, and this is how you repay me? I am grateful for the good things you did, I said. But gratitude doesn't mean I have to stay quiet about the harm. That's not how it works. Her eyes narrowed. Take it down, now. Call off the lawyer, delete the posts, or I swear. You swear what? I asked. That you'll post more about your toxic daughter online? You've already done that. The difference now is people can see both sides. She stared at me for a long second, breathing hard. You're dead to me, she said finally. Don't come crawling back when your father gets sick of playing hero and your little online fans move on. The words hit hard. They always do, no matter how old you are. But under the sting, there was this surprisingly solid place in me that just thought, I don't need you to choose me anymore. I've chosen me. I'm not dead, I said quietly. I'm just done. She glared a second longer, then turned on her heel and stomped away. The stairwell door slammed. I closed my door, slid down it, and cried. Not because I regretted what I'd done, but because even when you win, loss still hurts. The months after that were a slow burn kind of revenge. The credit companies investigated. One card wrote me saying they'd determined the account was fraudulent and were removing it from my report. Another froze the account and asked for more documentation. My score inched up. My dad and I built something real, slowly. Coffee every few weeks. Meeting his wife, Lisa, who hugged me like she'd been waiting to. Getting to know my half-brother, Josh, who thought it was cool to suddenly have a big sister. My mom kept her job. The world didn't end for her. But things shifted. She stepped down from leading the women's group to focus on herself. Some of her endless, my crazy kid posts vanished. Her followers dropped a little. A few of her loudest cheerleaders went quiet or even messaged me to say, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know." Then, about 6 months after my thread, I got an email from her. Subject line: Lily. Lily, it began, I don't agree with how you chose to handle things. I still think you exaggerated and made me look worse than I am, but I can't pretend there wasn't truth in what you said. I read on, heart in my throat. I did open those store cards in your name, she wrote. At the time, I told myself it was for us, for the house. I didn't think about your credit. That was wrong. I've been in contact with the banks and will be taking over the remaining balances. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. As for your father, she continued, you don't know everything that happened between us. He hurt me, Lily. I won't get into that, but I shouldn't have kept his letters from you. I was angry. I wanted you to see him how I saw him. That wasn't fair to you. I have deleted most of the posts about you. I honestly didn't realize how they made you feel. I thought people knew I was joking. I won't post about you again. That's the best I can promise for now. She ended with, I'm not ready to see you. Maybe one day. I hope this is enough to stop any more legal actions. Mom. It wasn't the apology I dreamed of when I was a kid. There was no I'm sorry in plain words, no ownership of everything, but it was something. I talked it over with Rachel, with Mia, with my therapist. Finally, I wrote back. I appreciate you taking responsibility with the banks and taking those posts down, I said. I don't regret telling my story. I needed to protect myself. I'm open to talking in person in the future, but only with a therapist or mediator present. I'm not going back to pretending everything is okay. I hit send. She never replied. We haven't seen each other in person since. My life kept going. A year after moving in with Mia, I'd repaired my credit enough to sign a lease on a tiny studio by myself. When I held those keys in my hand, I thought of that, finally moved out at 26 a post, and smiled. I still check my mom's social media sometimes. She posts Bible verses and pictures of her garden. No more jokes about permanent patients or drama queens under my roof. Whether that's because she's changed or because she's scared of being exposed again, I honestly don't know. What I do know is this. She doesn't get to write my life anymore. My revenge wasn't loud. There were no cops at the door, no courtroom showdown where I pointed and said, she did it. It was measured. It was legal. It was me, slowly, taking back every piece of myself she had turned into something else. I fixed my credit. I found my father. I told the town the truth. I held my ground when she tried to scare me into silence. She used social media and other people's sympathy as her weapon. I used those same tools as my shield. Her public congrats post was supposed to be the punchline to the joke of me, the late-blooming, overdramatic daughter who finally stopped leeching off her saintly mom. Instead, it became the first line of my own story. The moment I stopped being the problem in her narrative and became the narrator of my own. And the sweetest part of the revenge wasn't watching her followers side-eye her or seeing her step back from her Mother of the Year spotlight. It was knowing that no matter what she posts now, no matter what she tells people in small groups or break rooms, there is a version of the truth out there with my name on it. One she can't delete, minimize, or turn into a joke. That truth shut down her whole act more effectively than any shouting match ever could. If you've been turned into someone else's content, someone else's villain, here's what I learned. You don't have to scream, and you don't have to sink to their level. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is steady, documented, and honest. My mom's public congrats post was meant to humiliate me. In the end, it freed me and exposed her for exactly who we really were.